Hello, everyone, and welcome to Deb TV, dynamic, empowered, and bold. And I am so excited to bring to you another episode of Transformational Tuesday. And today I come to you with both excitement and a heavy heart because today we are going to feature one of my greatest master teachers, my inspiration for being in the self-help field, the father of self-help, the father of metaphysics, Mr. Dr. Wayne Dyer. He passed away earlier this week, and we are going to feature the teachings, the lessons, the legacy of Dr. Wayne Dyer and how he's influenced millions of people around the globe with his teachings, and how you can practice these teachings so that his life purpose will continue on for all of eternity. Before I begin with introducing Dr. Dyer formally, I just want to, for those of you that have never been with me before, let you know who I am. I'm Deborah Deras, and I am a inspirational, motivational speaker. I am also known as an author of this book right here called Confessions of an Adrenaline Addict. Yes, I'm an adrenaline addict. We'll do a show about that soon. And my commitment is to help busy small business owners, both entrepreneurs and also entrepreneurs, visionaries that are in alignment and on purpose, to be able to be successful without compromising your health and well-being. So providing you these experts, these resources on Transformational Tuesday every single week helps me to fulfill my purpose. And if there was anything that Dr. Dyer was more committed to, it was living your life on purpose. So let me introduce him to you. For those of you that are not familiar with his background, where he came from, he had very humble beginnings, born in Detroit. He is absolutely the American self-help author and one of the most notable motivational speakers. He's considered the father of modern self-help movement and the father of motivation. Most of his childhood was spent in orphanages and foster homes because he was born during the time of the Great Depression when there wasn't welfare. So his mother was making $17 a week and couldn't afford to raise all of the children that she had at that time. He drew heavily from his experiences in foster care and in these orphanages to not only be able to help himself, but to help others. And he did that by getting his doctorate in education, becoming a guidance counselor, which I did as well. So cool, we have so much in common. And he published journals and started a private practice to help people. He was motivated to encourage others through his prolific writings. And when I say prolific, he wrote over 31 books. And I say over because I'm sure he had a book that he was working on that hopefully Hay House will soon publish. And he wrote his first book in 1975 called The Erroneous Zones, which meant about the errors of our thinking and how we can change our emotions. But many people, he joked, thought it was called The Erogenous Zones, that it was a sexual book. He's like, if that helped book sales, oh well. But they were soon to find out that they were empowered and at choice to be able to transform their emotions, to live empowered lives. His book appearances were so well attended that he soon began doing speaking tours, which led to more books, which led to him eventually being featured on television. In fact, you may know Wayne Dyer from his numerous PBS specials because he was so committed to public access TV and wanted to make sure that you had the information to be able to transform your life. His whole mission was that you would be able to be self-actualized, to live your life on purpose, and to know that you were self-reliant, that your choices allowed you to create your life. And when you would change your thinking, you could change your life. One of his favorite quotes. He did not talk about spirituality until later in life, but became quite devoted as he lived in Maui, the beautiful island of Hawaii, with 8 children that he is very, very proud of, many of which are my friends on Instagram. His beautiful daughter that's a singer, Sky Dyer, and I'm sure you'll get to know a lot more about him. So for this episode of Transformational Tuesday, I'm going to share with you the highlights from his career that have most influenced me. I don't know about you, but when I first became a coach and I was learning about the law of attraction, he was one of the experts in the realm of manifestation. And he was asked to be a part of the movie, The Secret, but actually declined to do so because he felt it was too much about getting and not enough about giving. And that's something that Wayne Dyer often talked about, the law of circulation and the blessing of being able to give as well as to receive. So I'm going to give you right now a PowerPoint presentation that I have created that has just a highlights of some of my favorite Wayne Dyer quotes that really have left an impact on my life. And I'm just going to go over them with you. And then if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. And I'm going to be doing periscopes all through the week on the answers to your questions. If you're not on Periscope for some reason, feel free to follow me on Twitter. It's just my name, Deborah Deras, DeborahDeras. And when you are done watching this, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, to support this channel, to grow and expand. One of my visions is to be able to take classes at YouTube so I can be even better at producing amazing videos for you. And that requires me to get to a certain number of subscribers. So your subscription is your payment for this valuable information that I know is going to absolutely transform your life. So let's begin with the next slide. So Wayne Dyer says, oh, you do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. And the reason that this is so powerful is because many people are so focused on what they do not have in their life and the frustration. Say you want money, you want a relationship, you want something that is outside of yourself and that your mind may perceive is outside of the conditions of your current paradigm. But one of the things that Wayne Dyer says is you cannot have it unless you embody it. And he was saying that was one of the challenges with the movie, The Secret. He thought it was very beneficial that it opened up so many people's minds to the universal laws and how we co-create our reality and our experiences. But what he said was missing from it was the being it. So it's not about wanting money, wanting the relationship, wanting that healthy body, but knowing that it is your natural state to be that now. What does having money give you? If it's freedom, be free now. What does having the healthy body give you? Is it vitality? Be vital now. What does having that divine right relationship give you? Is it passion? Be passionate now. It is the embodiment of what we desire that creates the frequency, what he says is called alignment, so that we can experience it in our life. So it's not just about hocus pocus, airy fairy, wishful thinking. One of the things that Wayne Dyer talked about, I think it was in one of his interviews with Oprah on Super Soul Sunday, was even when he was a little boy in the orphanage, he never focused on wanting to be with a family or wanting to be any place but exactly the way where he was. And when children used to come to the orphanage and they would be crying, seemingly because they thought, oh, I don't have any parents. And Wayne would counsel them and say, this is the greatest place to be. You don't have any parents around. You can do whatever you want to do. He would always flip the perception of the situation. And he said, because of his ability to be able to be so in alignment with possibility thinking that he never went without a job his whole life. And he said he lived in many times of depression and struggle, because it's not our external world that creates our circumstances, it's our thinking. And he always chose to see the opportunities and to see what was available to him rather than scarcity. Another example he gave was when he was young and he was growing up in Detroit in the orphanage, he would wake up early, grab a shovel, and shovel everybody's driveways. And he would go and knock on their doors and say, by the way, I shoveled your driveway, just to let them know. Many times they would give him a dime, which he said was the equivalent of like $3,000 in this day and age. It was 2 cents to be able to get a Coca-Cola, and a dime would go a long way. And he would find out that he could get 2 cents back for every empty Coca-Cola can that he would give away. And so he began following people around that were drinking soda and manifesting a whole income of money just by having that desire to serve. You see, he was attracting abundance because he was being an abundant giver. He was being abundant with his creativity. He was being abundant with his innovation. He was being abundant with his opportunities to see possibilities. Many times we don't manifest our goals because we're living in a place of limitation. We're living from a place of limited thinking rather than attracting from the abundance that we are. He always quoted, all of the spiritual teachings that he was studying, and he studied many, many at the time of his life, of his over 40 years of teaching. And he would always remind us that when we are that thing that we desire, that's when it will come through. Of course, there's divine order, but when we're in alignment by being the energetic frequency of it, it will come to us eventually. And so many times what we need to do is stop wanting, but be patient in our aligning, knowing that it's already there and it is absolutely coming to us. The next slide talks about our intention. And our intention creates our reality. Our intention creates our reality. One of my favorite books that he wrote was on the power of intention. And the power of intention book talked about how every thought, every day is either taking us closer or farther away from our goals and our visions and our dreams. And one of the things that he said that we can do as a tool to be able to be even more open to our good, because he said good is simply God, and ego, which he talked about on Oprah, is simply edging that good or that God out. And our ego gets us into so much trouble. I'm going to talk a little bit about the ego in a moment. But first, I want to give you some suggestions from the book, The Power of Intention, to be able to access the ability to manifest even faster. So number 1 of the 5 suggestions is to monitor your inner dialogue, because our inner world creates our outer world. If we're not getting results in our career, in our relationships, in our abundance, we need to realize, what are my thoughts? What am I thinking? And one of the greatest teachings that always resonates in my mind from Wayne Dyer is, be a compassionate observer of your thoughts. Rather than judging your internal dialogue as good, bad, right, or wrong, simply be a compassionate observer. Oh, that's interesting that I'm on the lack and limitation program. Oh, that's interesting. I just went into victim consciousness. Oh, that's interesting. I'm comparing myself. Oh, that's interesting. I'm acting less than. Oh, that's interesting. I'm projecting my feelings onto someone else. You see that? So just by adding the word interesting, we take away the judgment of our behavior and we're able to observe it, because what we can observe, we can change. The other second step that he mentioned was that we can lighten moments of doubt and depression. He says, notice the moments that aren't a part of our higher nature. Reject thoughts that support an inability on your part to match up with intention. Remain faithful to the light. Remember, the sun is always shining behind the clouds, and after night becomes day. He always was the eternal optimist. So when you're going through something in your life, a challenge, maybe a hardship, know that what goes up must come down, that there is an ebb and a flow in everything. But we have to choose to see that possibility. 3, he says, be aware of low energy. One of the things that he loves to talk about is energy and calibration. In fact, Wayne Dyer was one of the inspirations for the Power of Energy chapter in my book, Confessions of an Adrenaline Addict. One of the things he says is, be mindful who you surround yourself with. That's why at the end of his life, he moved to Maui, an island that's so enchanted, that's so full of nature. And he said, instead of having to interact with a lot of people, he would just interact with nature and the trees and the sun and the animals and the birds and the flowers. So it's so important to be so vigilant. This is something that I teach as well, of our energy and who we surround ourselves with, because everything is calibrated. One of the books that Wayne Dyer and I both love is The Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins, who is a kinesthesiologist. He also passed away, but his legacy lives on, and he would do muscle testing. So he would ask you, say your name with a banana in your hand, holding it out, holding your arm out straight across. And we would try to push down your arm and you would hold it strong, saying, I am Deborah, right? But if you would put a diet soda in your hand, even if you said, I am Deborah, it would go down, because the calibration of that diet soda, because of the chemicals and everything that's in it, would lower your vibration. So be aware that everything around us either raises our vibration or lowers our vibration. This is why I choose to live near the beach, because I know that for me to be productive, I need to be near water. 4, he says, talk to your ego and let it know it has no control over you. One of my favorite sayings is, your ego is not your amigo, it's your enemigo. So your ego is not your amigo, it's your enemy. And one of the things that he was very, very vigilant about, talking about your ego. And he jokes with it. And he says, good morning, ego. This is God. I will be handling all of your problems today. I will not need your help. So have a miraculous day. So each and every day, or for some of us, each and every hour, for others of us, each and every moment, we can give our ego the rest of the day off and say, I got this. God is good in my life, or good is all that I need. Let go of the idea that the ego or anything it says you're attached to. It is an illusion, and it will keep you stuck and in stagnation. I'm going to talk about the ego, and one of the things that it does, there's 6 components of the ego that I'm going to talk about in a moment. 5, view obstacles as opportunities. Like I mentioned with the orphanage story that Wayne Dyer talked about, we can take any situation and any circumstance in our life and say, this is good. Our intention creates our reality. So if we intend to see the good in all, that's what we will see. It's the Google search engine of our mind. When we punch in the word good, that's what our perception is. That's what our experience is. When we punch in the word lack, limitation, that's what our perspective is. That's what our experience is. But one of the things that Dr. Wayne Dyer wanted us all to know is that we create our reality. If there's nothing else you get from his legacy, is to know that you are at choice, my friends, that every moment of the day, you are at choice, whether you are going to be a beneficial presence and know that the universe is good, or whether you are going to be a detrimental presence and fear that the world is after you. So the next slide talks about honoring our physical temple, knowing that as we eat healthy, as we exercise, as we listen to our body's needs, we are treating it with dignity and love. Now, Wayne Dyer was a very, very busy and in-demand motivational speaker, published author with Hay House, constantly on tour. Yet, he exercised dutifully every single day. And one of the ways that he said he was able to be so consistent with his exercise was he would run in the hallways of his hotel. And he would run barefoot. So he would just go and do like 45 minutes. And he said that he absolutely had to be vigilant about honoring his body temple, because he knew that that was his masterpiece, that that was the sacred vessel which he was living, moving, and having his being. And in order to give, and I know that many of you listening are great and powerful givers, you have to be willing to receive. And so receiving involves allowing our body to restore itself. So the idea of resting, rejuvenating, restoring, one of the things that Wayne and his colleague, Deepak Chopra, would do on a regular basis, that I do, not as regular as I should, but I do, is a day of silence, a day of silent meditation. He talked about that that was a way to recalibrate, because one of the things I talk about in my book, in the Power of Slowing Down chapter, is that when we slow down and be still, it enables us to realign. It enables us to reconfigure, enables us to recalibrate and restore to our natural set point, which is vital, energetic, and alive. But we can't give to others unless we're willing to give to ourselves. So this honoring our body temple is so important. I talk about putting positive deposits in our energy wellness bank. So those days that we have 12, 14-hour days, or that days that we have that are just 8 hours but are super stressful, we have reserves so we don't go into the negative. Because one of the things I learned as an adrenaline addict, recovering adrenaline addict, is that when I went into the negative, I would get sick. And I wouldn't have a choice whether or not to rest. I was forced to rest because I didn't have the energy to move on because of the adrenal fatigue. So I invite you, like Dr. Wayne Dyer has done, to honor your physical temple. It houses you. So eat and feed it healthy, exercise, listen to what your body is calling for. If you need to eat more regularly, mini meals, if you need to carry snacks, if you need to have more foods from the earth. I remember in meditating one time, I was told I needed to eat foods with more color. And I recently was told I should eat more yellow. So I'm adding turmeric to my diet so I can have more yellow, and maybe we'll add some bananas in. But definitely listen, because loving yourself is allowing yourself to be in alignment with your good. And that's going to be how you manifest your visions and dreams. So when we go to the next slide, this is one of, oh, this is a good one. This is conflict cannot survive without your participation. I was reading on Facebook, one of my many coaches she talking about relationships and love. And she said, you know, they usually say it takes two people to argue, but it actually only takes one. You see, our ego, that part of us that Wayne says is edging God out, that part of us that wants to be right, that part of us that wants to win, that part of us that wants to stay stuck is attached. But when we detach from that ego and realize that the conflict cannot exist unless we participate in it. When we are attached, we are holding on. Imagine yourself holding on to a cup or holding on to a handle. You can't be open to receive or be receptive when you're holding on. You can only be received when we let go. This is why Wayne and all the other spiritual teachers that I've ever had have emphasized the power of forgiveness and the power of compassion for ourselves, because as human beings, we make mistakes. As human beings, we are, going to learn from the lessons. But Wayne Dyer reminds us we're spiritual beings having this human experience. And it's not natural to be so dense and heavy in these bodies and have these egos that keep us stuck. So there are some tools that he gave. One of the interviews he did on Super Soul Sunday inspired me so much. He talked about the ego is simply an idea. The ego is a collection of ideas with 6 components that I'm going to share with you right now from Wayne's teachings. He says, number 1, the ego says, I am what I have. So anytime we lose a job or break up in a relationship or lose money in the stock market or whatever, we think that that is our identity. And we could have the tendency to get anxious, fearful, or depressed. So he invites us to let go of that thought, to let go of that idea that the ego has, that we are what we have. We are the I am presence that is infinite without any attachment. That is the truth. The second illusion of the ego is that I am what I do. And this is one of the basis of adrenaline addiction. Adrenaline addiction, as I define it in my book, Confessions of an Adrenaline Addict, is not about bungee jumping or skydiving, but the addiction to just doing too much, because believing that our self-worth is equated to what we do. So adrenaline addicts have a tendency to overdo and then feel underappreciated. But it's this vicious cycle of an overcompensation for something that is not even real. Course in Miracles, which Wayne Dyer quotes oftentimes, says the only thing that is real is love, and that fear is just an illusion. And the ego thrives in fear. Number 3 says, I am what other people think of me. So the ego gets caught up in reputation. So it gets very just and has conflict because it wants to be righteous and right, not realizing that what other people think about us really doesn't matter. And he emphasizes this in all of his teachings. He was saying that when he was in school, some kids were upset because the teacher said they were the worst class and that they weren't doing good. And Wayne, at the young age of 8 years old, said, who cares what they think? You know the truth. And that's what we all need to embrace, the truth of who we are. But we can't align with the truth of who we are through our 5 senses, through visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory. We are limited by those 5 senses. This is why Wayne Dyer and all the master teachers talk about the importance of meditation, the importance of contemplation. One of my favorite Wayne Dyer meditations is the japa meditation, where we breathe out, ah, and he talks about ah being the sound of all creation. Maybe at the end, if there's time, we'll do a short meditation of Wayne Dyer's japa meditation. But he said all of the words of God in every religion had that sound of ah, Buddha, Krishna, God, Allah, that this sound, Ama, this sound of ah, this loving sound allows us to realign with the truth, because the ego will say, number 4, I'm separate from everyone else. This is when we get into comparisons, thinking, oh, look what they have. I got to keep up with those neighbors or keep up with those people, not realizing that there is nothing outside of ourselves. Everyone has a different body, but when we relinquish judgment, when we relinquish ego attachment to them being better than us, or us being better than them, we are free. We are liberated, which leads to the next one, which says, I am separate from what is missing in my life. The ego believes that we're separate and that somehow God is outside of us rather than within us. That God is that love, that effervescence, that joy, that peace, that harmony, that when we are saying thank you, that we just feel this grace pour upon us, but that we can have that every moment as long as we stay connected. Not connected to the internet or the Wi-Fi, but connected to the divine infinite source of abundant supply that is forever running through, in, and as us, which leads us to the final number 6 construct of the ego, which is I am separate from God. And Wayne Dyer said, whether or not you have a relationship with God, claim your relationship with good, because that's what God is. All of the good of the universe, all of the love, all of the peace, all of the joy, all of the harmony. And this is why when we say, I am, that declaration, that affirmation of I am, we're proclaiming the good in God that we are allowing as the individuation of the Most High, as the light, the sons and daughters of the divine, that we are able to embody that, because we don't get what we want, we get what we are. So it's about embodying. Can you tell I'm passionate about this? I'm super passionate about it. And I really feel such a compelling need to get this out to you all, because I just know that the world can truly be in a much more peaceful place if we are in inner peace. We can't change the world, but we can change ourselves. And it starts with letting go of our own inner conflict. Because the truth is, conflict cannot survive without our participation. Going to the next slide, just read it for a moment. Take a breath. I want you to contemplate what I've been saying, because there's a lot of information. I probably could have split this up into 2 sessions, which maybe I will. Because if you ask with kindness in your voice and in your heart, how may I serve you? The universe's response will be, how may I serve you as well? One of the things that in the Power of Intention book that Dr. Wayne Dyer talks about is that the universe is a yes machine, and that as we put in our order to the universe, that the response from the universe is always yes. It may not be right now, it may not be at this moment, but when our intention is in alignment with that which we are seeking, that it will come to us, that it will manifest. It is the power of intention. I used to have a mastermind group based on his book, The Power of Intention. And we would, in our sessions, in our coaching group, we would just visualize what we desired in our life. Very, very specifically. Something we desired. Maybe it was a career situation. Maybe it was a relationship situation, a body situation, a mindset shift. And week after week, everyone would have miraculous, seemingly miraculous manifestations of the demonstration of their desires. And this wasn't hocus pocus or magic. This, as Wayne Dyer would say, would be a demonstration of our intention, because quantum physics tells us that whatever we focus on expands. And I love the way that Wayne Dyer would break down quantum physics into very, very understandable, easy terms. He had the best way of telling stories. And one of the stories he told was he was speaking on stage and he brought up an orange with him to do a demonstration. And he asked someone to squeeze the orange. And he says, when you squeeze the orange into this cup, will you get apple juice? And they said, no, of course not. Will you get grape juice? No, that's silly. Would you get pear juice? No. Would you get coconut juice? No. And they started looking at him exasperated. And he said, then why would we expect to get love out into our life when we're squeezing in fear? And this is what happens when our attention is focused on worry, lack, and limitation. I call it being tuned into the station of K-fear, all anxiety, all worry, all the time. When the station that we can choose, Wayne Dyer says, to be tuned into is K-love, Radio Amor, where we are just loving our life, accepting our life, and knowing that no matter what it looks like, divine order is at hand. Divine order is the order of the day for us. Not just today, but every moment of every day. When he was in the orphanage, he would always look to see what the opportunities were and would teach others. And you know what? The more we teach something, the more we embody it. Why do you think I started teaching all of these lessons of the law of attraction? I think I had my first law of attraction group before The Secret even came out back in 1999, because I was just so excited about the things I was manifesting, whether it was a mansion to live in, which I did 3 times, by the way, whether it was a beach house, which I manifested, whether it was a speaking career, whether it was, the divine home that I wanted to live in, whatever it would come to volition, not by magic, not by miracles, but by thought being energy. And I say that thoughts create our emotions, create our behaviors, creates our results. This is why Wayne always says that when we ask, how may I serve you? The universe's response will be, how may I serve you as well? We just have to be open. See in the picture, that open receptivity. We can't receive when we're holding on. So the key is to be receptive and in alignment. Next slide is a quote that I absolutely love, and I love the scenery on the beach, which is my happy place. And it says, when you judge another, you do not define them, you define yourself. And we've all been guilty of this. I know I have. That when we are in a place of judgment, for the most part, it is usually a projection of something within ourselves. In fact, we're usually annoyed by people that are most like us because we're not actually judging them. We're judging ourselves that they are a mirror of. Isn't that crazy? That people around us are mirrors. So when they're irritating us, it's because there's a part of us that we have not come to terms with. There's a part of us that we've not healed, that we have not understood, that we've not gathered the lesson from. So when you ask yourself, where am I judging others? You'll have the answer to where you're judging yourself. And then you can choose, like Wayne Dyer says, to be that compassionate observer and to let it go. Honestly, it does not take 21 days to change a habit. I know this because as a master results coach, as someone that's been certified in neuro-linguistic programming, certified in hypnosis, master's degree in education, my education allowed me so many principles, so many modalities to be able to transform people's lives. I have seen people change in an hour session. I've seen people change in an instant by shifting their perception. So when you let go of judging yourself, maybe you're not comfortable with your ideal weight. Instead of saying, oh, I'm so fat or I'm so unattractive, when you say to yourself, I am getting better each and every day. I love and accept myself. And as I eat healthy, I am vibrant and strong. With each exercise I do, I am even more in alignment with my true natural state of vitality. Do you see how that's different? Do you see how that can support every cell of your body to correspond to the declaration that you're giving it? Because every word that we have is a declaration. We're either declaring what we want or we're declaring what we don't want. But the choice is ours, my friend. First thing that Wayne always talks about is we have the power to choose. Next slide talks about, I cannot always control what goes on outside, but I can always control what's going on inside. And this is really, really a core teaching that when I do stress management trainings in corporate America and in government agencies, even working with the military, I've been able to share this Wayne Dyer principle because it is insanity to try to think that other people, places, or things will change simply by our being irritated by them. It just won't happen. And our wanting them to change will just make us be even more insane and wanting to tear our hair out. The only way we can be in a place of power is to control what we have power over, which is ourselves, which is our thoughts. And knowing, T. Harv Eker, one of my other teachers that wrote the book Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, says, our inner world creates our outer world, and how we do something is how we do everything. How we do something is how we do everything, T. Harv Eker would say. And so this inner world, that when our thoughts are focused on possibility, we see what's possible. When our thoughts are focused on lack, limitation, scarcity, that's what we see. So it's so important important, my friends, that we are vigilant about our thoughts, that we absolutely make sure that we only focus and feed. They say don't feed the negative thoughts. We only feed the thoughts that enrich us. We only feed the declarations that empower us, that we only feed that inspiration that inspires us to go to that next level. The ego that's not our amigo is always going to tell us why we're not good enough and why we should stay stuck. And it's up to us to make that choice. Because Wayne Dyer's most famous quote, I believe, is if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Let me say that again. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So two people can come from the same upbringing, brother and sister, have the same parents, the same house, maybe even in the same room. And one can say, oh, we were so poor, we lacked everything. Where another could say, we were so abundant, we had everything. It depends on your perception. Your perception of the world, how you see the world, is how you experience it. This is not self-help mumbo jumbo. This is quantum physics. Wayne Dyer studied, he researched, he was an existential detective of self-help because he knew that there were answers to the challenges and the problems that people had, and he also knew it was within us. And that is so empowering to know that it is within, because how people treat you is their karma. How you react is yours. Powerful. I'm going to say that again. How people treat you is their karma. How you react is yours. So karma, as you know, is what's going around comes around. What goes around comes around. Absolutely. And when you realize that you are in choice, this is his first book that came out in 1975. I'm sure you can get it on Amazon.com. It's The Erroneous Zones, which is shifting from allowing your emotions to own you to you managing and being in control of your emotions. Later books, as you go through the self-help legacy, is all about emotional intelligence, right? Same thing that Wayne Dyer talked about. But we can choose how we react to things. That it's so important for us to let go of the idea that we are victims of our circumstances. Things can happen all around us, but they may not be happening to us. It's only if we take it on, you know. In this high-tech information age, we're getting emails and we're getting text messages, and it's so compelling to just want to reply to everyone and to just want to react to whatever they're wanting or needing from us. But when we know that we are at choice and that each and every moment that we can only be in the state of reacting from a place of choice. So we can choose, okay, I'm going to respond later from a place of power. I'm going to respond so I don't go into the emotions of things. Anytime that we act from a place of emotional overwhelm or emotional overload, it's always going to come across as a judgment. That's why Wayne Dyer said it was so important to be in alignment. It is so important to take that time to meditate. Because when we know that when we let the world know why you're here and you do it with passion, that we are in alignment. One of the times in my career has taken so many shapes and forms, but my first company was called Passionate Living Now, and I was doing one-on-one coaching. And when I shifted to doing marketing consulting, before I realized that that was my next evolvement of my career, my next stage of being able to help and serve and transform the world, I was feeling stuck. I was feeling stagnant. It's going back to those 6 constructs of the ego. The ego felt attached to what it thought was my job title. And when my job title changed, it was confused. It was perplexed. It was doubting. But one of the things that I know is that when you are given an opportunity, it's because you have the talent, skills, and abilities to fulfill it. And the more passionate you are about helping, or the more passionate you are about a topic or a subject, the better you're going to be in doing it, the better you're going to be in it. So it's really, really important for you to be aligned with that, to be aligned with your passion, to be aligned with your purpose. When you let the world know that you are here and that you're open and receptive, who cares if the ego says you may not be good enough? Who cares if the ego says you don't have that credential or that degree on the wall? Bill Gates dropped out of college. Steve Jobs dropped out of college and would drop into the classes that interest him, like calligraphy. You don't need a piece of paper to say that you're qualified to do anything. You just need that passion, and ignite that passion by being around people that inspire you, being around nature that inspires you, being around communities that light up and ignite you to go beyond the limitations of your ego to your infinite potential. This is one of the most famous quotes that Wayne, if you Google Wayne Dyer and you go to the images, you'll see this a million times. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, by Wayne Dyer. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. How powerful. So instead of seeing yourself as stuck in that job, instead of seeing yourself as stuck in that relationship, I invite you, and Wayne would invite you, to see it from a different perspective, to do a mountain view look of your life, to visualize your life. And instead of going from the place of stagnation, go from the place is, what are the positive learnings here for me in this career? What are the positive learnings for me here in this position? What are the positive learnings for me here in this relationship? And when you listen, not from the level of the problem, Einstein says we can't solve a problem from the consciousness that created it. We cannot solve a problem from the consciousness that created it. The only way that we can resolve an energy is by shifting out of the level of the myopic view of the problem that is tunnel vision. Problem, problem, problem. Take time to go for a walk on the beach. Take time to walk around your neighborhood. Take time to be still. Instead of trying to upload the answers to your challenges, my invitation to you as your coach right now would be to download. But we can only download when we're in a place of relaxation. And so that's why the breath and doing the meditations, I'm sure you can find the Japa meditation by Wayne Dyer. There's so many different meditations. For those of you that are new to meditation, having someone to guide you is always helpful in the beginning, and you can find the one that works for you. But the Japa meditation that Wayne Dyer created, I used to do on a regular basis, and I highly recommend it. One of the things that Wayne reminds us is, I am realistic. I expect miracles. My co-author, Adelaide Odenton, of the book Confessions of an Adrenaline Addict that we wrote together, on her signature would always say, I expect a miracle. Will you expect a miracle today? And a miracle is simply an alignment of our desires with our true nature. For it is our true nature to be abundant. It is our true nature to be love. It is our true nature to be peace. It is our true nature to be harmony. It is our true nature to be at peace and serene. It is about letting go of the blockages of the ego that keep us from experiencing it and having it in our life now. One of the poems that Wayne Dyer quotes in his book, The Power of Attention, is, you were born with potential. You were born with goodness and trust. You were born with ideals and dreams. You were born with greatness. You were born with wings. You were not meant for crawling, so don't. You have wings. Learn to use them and fly, by Rumi. So I would like to just do a blessing to allow Wayne Dyer to fly. This post on his Instagram that I'm sure his family, friends, Hay House posted on his behalf says, choose to see death as simply removing a garment or moving from room to room. It is merely a transition. This is why when people pass, in my spiritual belief, we don't call it death, we call it a transition. In fact, today I was driving and I saw this firefly, dragonfly. It was so beautiful and full of light. And I thought that it was Wayne, the energy of Wayne that was just with me, because I've been so communing with him to prepare for this evening's Transformational Tuesday. And I know that Mr. Wayne Dyer would want you to live your life every moment of the day absolutely in alignment with your passion and your purpose. And how to do that is to let go of the ego. The 6 constructs of the ego that I talked about, I can email to you. When you subscribe to my newsletter, deborahderas.com, you'll also get a copy of my meditation MP3. In fact, let me go to that. You'll get a copy of my meditation MP3. I will email you back the 6 components of the ego that I read, because I think those are super, super powerful. Make sure when you subscribe to my email that you click the button that says, yes, confirm subscription. Otherwise, it will go to spam. And add deb@deborahderas.com to your address book so that it will come in your priority mail rather than going in the promotions mail, so you can get it. It is just my great pleasure to be able to serve you. If anything resonated with you from my own book, it's called Confessions of an Adrenaline Addict. We talk about the power of choice, the power of surrender, the power of energy, the power of slowing down, the power of planning, the power of synergy, many of which was inspired by the teachings of Wayne Dyer, among many other self-help authors. And you can get a copy at deborahderas.com, and anyone that gets a copy will also, today only, will also, September 1st, today, will also get a 15-minute coaching session, because I'm committed absolutely to your transformation. If you have any questions about this presentation, please write in the comments of the YouTube. Remember, subscribe to the YouTube at deborahderaslive.com, and I will be answering the questions on my Periscope. You can follow me on Periscope at Deborah Deras. The hashtag is Scope with Deb. So if you're on Twitter and you look for Scope with Deb, the replays are up there for 24 hours. I also encourage you to connect with me on Facebook or your social media of choice. It's really up to you, so that we can stay connected, because my mission and my life is devoted to providing you with resources, tools to be able to live a life that is aligned with your highest potential, with your goals, with your visions, with your dreams fulfilled. I absolutely know that. And this will come from being in alignment. So I want to thank all of you for participating in this Transformational Tuesday. This is going to be an on-demand event. So anytime that you want to watch it, as long as you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, deborahderaslive.com, it's accessible for you. Share it on your social media, share it on your walls, and take these teachings to heart. I know I gave you so much information to be able to transform your life during this brief session. So you may just want to pick one of these, which, by the way, this entire PowerPoint I'm going to share on my Facebook. I'm going to share it on my Google+, on my LinkedIn. So I'm going to share it on SlideShare. So you will be able to access this, so you can meditate. Just once a day, you can take one of the teachings of Wayne Dyer and practice it in your life. And I promise you that when you do that, you will see amazing and transformational results in your life. You will see that the visions that you have for your life will come true. Because I truly believe that with the power of synergy, anything is possible. And you can live the life of your dreams by following the power of intention and the legacy that Dr. Wayne Dyer has left for us. So I invite you to practice these principles. That's how the transformation occurs. All of us are practitioners in life. We're not perfectionists, but we're practitioners. So I look forward to hearing how these principles have helped you and what you're looking forward to in the next episode of Transformational Tuesday, which is going to be featuring Yvette Mayo, talking about how you can transform your life through the power of your thoughts and your mindset. And feel free to watch all of the previous episodes. I have a playlist on DeborahDerasLive.com, Deb TV, which is called Transformational Tuesday. So you can be able to watch every episode right now at your leisure. This may be changing soon, but for right now, definitely this is open and available. So make sure you share it with your friends. I know that sharing is caring. So thanks again for tuning in to Transformational Tuesday on Deb TV. My name is Deborah Deras, Latina speaker, author, and influencer, reminding you that with the power of synergy, anything is possible. Ciao for now. See you next time. Bye. Besos.